All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardinellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
All right, and today we got a lot to talk about. We're actually really excited. Andrew Yang's closing statements at the debates are now being heralded as a, quote, mic drop moment. There's also a lot of steam and a couple of apps to get Andrew Yang some cash and some other assorted controversies floating around the interwebs. Cody, why don't you tell us what's going on?
Okay, I guess first of all, there was an article that was passed around a lot yesterday, I saw, and it was a Forbes article, essentially an editorial from how I'm reading it. But it said why Andrew Yang's Democratic debate closing statement was a mic drop performance. So I thought it'd be fun to go through this and kind of look and see exactly what they are talking about, what made it a mic drop performance, and we'll see. I don't want to toot my own horn, but we'll see how right both of us might have been a little bit going through here. Now, for those of you who were not familiar with it, it was at the end of a slog of a debate. I'll give you credit if you didn't watch it. But towards the end of the fifth Democratic presidential debate, I was tempted to turn off the television and skip the boring closing. There we go, right away. Yeah, exactly. Then I heard Andrew Yang. For me, his closing statement was anything but predictable and boring. It was actually refreshing and riveting. Ranked dead last for debate talk time, even this person who was, I doubt, a Yang ganger who's going to turn the TV off before he spoke. Dead last for debate talk time. His 147-minute closing statement represented more than 25% of his overall.
I never thought of it that way.
That's even more shocking. Remove his opening and closing remarks. He basically talked for like 3 minutes in the middle of the debate.
Jeez.
As a professional speaker, I couldn't help reflecting on his performance through that lens. Connecting with an audience is a universally critical skill for virtually all leaders, and I just watched Andrew Yang give a masterclass to some of the nation's best and brightest political veterans. I had not read every word of the intro. I mostly read the points. Very glowing praise here. Admittedly, Yang may not be the most sophisticated, elegant orator, I spoke too soon, by some standards, but his presentation style arguably may be the most effective with real mass audiences. Let's examine 5 lessons that can be extracted from Yang's somewhat unconventional...
Wild things happen when you cut your teeth in the private sector and not the public one.
Yeah, well, but again, the reason I wanted to even read through all that, because like I said, when I read this article to myself, I kind of skimmed over those bits, is because I wanted to highlight this is not someone who's like, I've been following Yang for years, and this is why he's great. It's like, I literally was vaguely aware of the person, and I just heard his speech, and it was great. I always kind of like I'm always more interested in that person's critique than
it seems untainted.
Don't come to me for like, is LeBron James good? I'll tell you he's the best. He's the greatest. He's always the greatest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, LeBron James, the greatest player. He's the second greatest player.
No, he's not.
Plays in the Lakers, baby. That's all I care about. So, I mean, I'm a Lakers fan. That's the reason why don't come to me for Lakers advice. I'll tell you the best team ever. So,
okay.
Lesson number 1. Emphasize points of commonality to build rapport and connection. This cracked me up because when she says this, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, yeah, like none of these candidates humanize themselves on any level ever.
Yeah.
Except for when they do these weird patronizing, like a lot of these candidates think they could say, like,
I was that little girl.
No, but
it's
kind of like we were joking, no flame to this guy, but the Jocko Willenick, I think it is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys like that, and they go, and they're like, and it's like, they're just like, oh yeah, like it's just like you have to just like, and it's like, dude, not everyone's just like the man who like wakes up at 4 a.m., runs 3 miles.
If
like,
you got a problem, you have to wake up and face that problem and tear out that problem's throat.
My larger thing is, I think some people do kind of take for granted how unique they are, and a lot of these candidates go up there and talk about how, oh, I came from these really humble beginnings, and now look at me, I'm like a senator. It's like, that's cool, but like most people aren't. Like, why talk about things we have? And that was a long rambling intro to what they say here. So the first 2 sentences of his closing statement immediately started establishing rapport and connection. I'm here with my wife, Evelyn, tonight. We have 2 young boys, Christopher and Damien. And the thing is, and she goes, I've only heard Yang speak a handful of times, but I've heard him mention more than once his wife cares for the 2 sons, one of whom is autistic and has special needs. People relate to that more than your journey to Congress. No offense. I am very we went to the
That's true. They relate to that more than your journey to Congress.
Yeah, we went to the First in the West dinner in Las Vegas, and Elizabeth Warren goes up there and she talks about, oh, you know, my father had a heart attack and we had hardship, so I had to go and get my law degree. I'm like, amazing. I'm very happy for you, Elizabeth Warren. 1, I know this. 2, I think your supporters who show up know this. This is an event for Democrats. And 3, I get that you worked hard and got somewhere. That's awesome. But it's like, I can't relate to you being a senator or a Harvard law professor. I can relate to you as being, you know, like, there we go. Like Andrew, he has a family. He has a wife and kids. I only know Elizabeth Warren has a husband because when they talk about her net worth, they combine them. That's the only reason why I know Elizabeth Warren has a husband. I think a lot of people can relate to being a member of a family. No offense. Anyway. So I'm not sure it's an accident. Leading with the most relatable elements of his bio are so smart. It not only helps him introduce himself to an electorate that barely knows him, but it also sparks... Again, I'm very aware of Elizabeth Warren, and I only know she has a husband because people have to combine their net worths. But it also sparks a real sense of connection with the audience. While others may come across as disconnected, wealthy politicians... Oh, really? You do... Carden, do you think other people come across as disconnected wealthy politicians?
Other people, as in the vast majority, yes.
Yeah, everyone on the stage? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
It was pathetic.
You know what's funny? You know who actually doesn't? A shout out to John Delaney. He doesn't come across as that.
And you know what's kind of crazy is actually Tom Steyer came across as less detached and disconnected than some of the people up there.
Oh, yeah. Elizabeth Warren, for sure.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Elizabeth Warren was so much more of an ivory tower elitist than even Tom Steyer, the freaking billionaire.
I don't want to recant the debate or recount
yeah.
the debate, but do you remember when Elizabeth Warren said more people should be in the military?
Oh, no, actually, I liked that. Was the only thing that I liked.
That's my point. She's not up there on stage to make you like her. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Republicans are like,
no, but
okay,
I think she was trying
fine.
to get out the purpose of mutual service. And also, I think people look at the country as how can I help serve the country as a whole when they serve the country in the military instead of thinking, what can I get out of it? The government owes me something.
Okay, but strategically, it was bad for her. I can tell you that. People didn't like it.
Why? Is the left so psychotically anti? They're not anti-war now.
Well, no.
I mean, the Democrats are not anti-war.
Again, we're not going to go over the debate. The voters are, for the most part. It's not it's the establishment that is. The voters are. So that's,
I think military service.
There's no better way to show you're a disconnected establishment politician than to say, I want more people in the military. Because here's the thing. Like you said, there is an angle to it that makes sense, but there's also the angle of like why. And again, we're kind of getting off point.
I can't believe I'm fighting on behalf of Elizabeth Warren right now. Oh, I feel dirty.
My point exactly.
I give credit where credit is due. Okay, I think her the intention of her comment was good.
Making my point.
Okay.
She doesn't go on stage to win over you in a Democratic primary debate. Are you voting in the primary for Elizabeth Warren?
Well, I would think that she would go on stage to win over patriots.
Moving on. Moving on. Contrast. During the debate, Cory Booker vigorously interjected at one point to remind the audience that he was the other Rhodes Scholar mayor on the stage. I forgot that happened. These people are ridiculous. No offense to anyone running for president, but oh my God. You want, again, what's more relatable? The fact that you have 2 children, one of which is special needs, and your wife helps raise them? Or, excuse me, there's actually 2 Rhodes Scholars mayor. Oh, thank God, Cory. I even like Cory Booker. Thank God he reminded us that he is indeed as elite as people would judge. I am indeed also an elite. So the reported 450% Google search spike on the question, run as a Rhodes Scholar. Exactly. People don't care about this stuff, and they go on the stage and they act like, I'm going to win over some voters right here. Actually, there's 2 Rhodes Scholar mayors. And everyone goes to Google, what is a Rhodes Scholar? It just reinforces how far removed the average American voter is from Rhodes Scholar circles. Imagine having to tell someone, you know that really elite... Like, the reason why people take pride in being a Rhodes Scholar, because it's an elite, kind of like small group.
Yeah.
Why would your average layman on the street care or know about your elite I always tell people, you gotta remember, not everyone cares about your dumb little club. People think they do. Like, for example, not everyone cares about your dumb little club.
Interesting.
I've gone way too long about this. Said, obviously, virtually everyone on the presidential debate stage is an academic, intellectual, I can't even say the word, that would evoke the highest levels of admiration. So it seems counterproductive at best for candidates to use precious debate time to point out how much more educated they are than the average voter. Yes.
Yeah, that's
I just want to take a moment to remind you guys,
jab.
I am indeed smarter than all you voters out there. I just want to make sure it's on the record. I'm not only smarter, I have more credentials than you. I love when people do that. They go up on stage and it's like, dude, why... There's a reason why some candidates do better when they just don't talk, because they're going to go up there and just be an elitist jerk and no one's going to like them. But the party likes the policy anyway.
Yeah.
So lesson 2, engage with, don't just talk to the audience. Another thing, nothing is funny she says that. Yeah, when does any candidate ever engage with the audience in these debates? Except for just not berating, but lecturing.
No,
them.
I can't
Lecturing
believe...
or sermoning is basically the extent of the interaction.
Yeah, and I can't believe there's not more audience engagement in these debates, because I just think naturally, if I were up there and someone were to ask me a question, like those moderators that ask BS questions, my first impulse would be like, that is the crappiest question I've ever heard in my life. How can you consider yourself a moderator?
And
then I would immediately want to ask the audience, like, is this what you came to see? Like, almost like in Gladiator, like, are you not entertained? I would be like, is this what you came to see? Like,
that'd be a big move. I'd like that.
I would just be like, I came here to talk about how UBI is going to change the way our society functions and improves our children's lives, our families' lives, our jobs, our education. And I just got asked a dumb question about foreign relations. Like I would immediately, like almost impulsively, go to the audience.
Yeah.
So I don't see how these seasoned veterans of politics don't do this. Like Biden, you'd think after having been through so many debates.
I can show you guys a little bit later. Maybe I'll show in this video of the link. Elizabeth Warren recently was asked by, I don't believe it was even a supporter necessarily. I think just someone at one of her events, could be a supporter, someone put words in person's mouth.
Okay.
And she said, but like, Miss Warren, didn't you send your kids to private school? Elizabeth Warren just goes, no, I didn't do that. It's like, yes, you did. Everyone, I believe, according to some sources, she was currently teaching at the school that was a private school she had enrolled her children in that she's so unaware of. She told supporter, no, I never did that. So I think there's a reason why a lot of them, they have to, people know I have to put like a screen between my candidate and the audience. Or Joe Biden recently told someone to go vote for Trump then because they didn't agree with him. They're like, oh, I don't like Obama's border policy. He's like, why don't you go vote for Trump then? It's like, dude, maybe they will. And then how dumb will you feel instead of just trying to level with somebody? And like, it's crazy. Like, these elitists feel like explaining themselves to you isn't worth it. I don't need your vote if I have to explain myself to you. That is why they don't. Because getting into what you said here, and again, once again, you'll notice, Andrew Yang didn't ask with his hand raised how many people are Rhodes scholars. He said, how many of you all are parents like us here in the room? Yeah. He didn't say, how many people here have a law degree? Oh, all of us on stage and like a few of you in the crowd. That's interesting. Yeah, we're smarter than, like, he asked, how many of you are parents? So if you're a parent, you've had this thought. Maybe you've been afraid to express it. And it's this, our kids are not all right, which, by the way, little pat in the back for us. We made a video the first time I saw him really give this speech.
Yeah,
believe it was at a Democratic
we said it was
event.
His best one.
Well, we said this is going to be the messaging moving forward. I think it was less than a month ago because I think it was after the last debate. And here we go. It's
obviously Andrew Yang and Zach Grumman watched the show and are taking our free advice.
Or it goes the other way. It was such a good idea, even we recognized it was a good idea. One or the other.
One of the two. I prefer to be the horse that is pulling the cart.
But just really quickly, let's go skip through this. He said, the opener included me, and as a parent, I felt an emotional connection to his point in the initial question. Oh, you notice she didn't say, as a fellow Rhodes scholar, I felt an immediate connection to Cory Booker. The initial question created a bit of suspense and almost forced me to listen.
That's true. The silence is golden.
Yeah, I can't think of a much more difficult presentation challenge than figuring out how to engender audience engagement during a crowded presidential debate field as a lesser-known candidate at 11:30 p.m. It's a really good point. But the technique is asking a direct question that the audience could relate to with a compelling emotional answer was a stroke of genius. By the way, I believe a band called The Offspring made a song called The Kids Aren't Alright. That was like a big hit like 15 years ago. Like, Dude,
Eminem did the same thing. It's like, why do you think they're eating up my albums like Valium?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So
this has been a common trend for musicians for a while. And just in the arts. So in July, Democratic presidential debate, he similarly started his closing statement with an intriguing question and answer. Do you know what the talking head's going to talk about for the last debate? It's not that I'm somehow pulling fourth on the stage in national polling. It's the fact that I wasn't wearing a tie. So he goes through that. Then This gets back to my exact criticism of anyone running for president except for Andrew Yang and Andrew Yang. Come up here. I can top my head him. Don't talk above the audience. Wow. So you're telling me candidates going up there and talking weird, obscure inside baseball about Capitol Hill drama isn't good? That isn't how you win an election? By going up there and talking about gossip on Capitol Hill? Oh my God. As a strategy consultant with a top firm, I was taught to quickly assess my client's culture and then dress a half step above the client. Interesting. Our executives told us since we are billing them thousands of dollars an hour for our team's time, anyone should be able to immediately identify the consultants in the room. But at the same time, they wanted us to blend into the corporate culture and not unwittingly separate ourselves from clients by dressing too formally. Fascinating psychology there. Wear what they wear, but nicer, so they know you're better than them. But they know you're not like above them. No, you're above them, but you're not better than them. Like you're not in like a tux.
It's like you're within arm's reach.
Yeah, exactly.
She's not out of your league. She's just the coat.
Yeah, it's like he has a business watch too. It's just $100,000 business watch, not a $5,000 business watch. Anyway,
okay.
That is a power move. I'm wearing basically what you're wearing, but it all costs. It's a Ric Flair move. Ric Flair used to go up there and just talk about how much his clothes. Anyway, similarly, there's a reason.
Yeah, look at me. I'm in a $100,000 suit. What does he wear? Doc Martens and his underwear.
Basically, he used to brag about his gator skin shoes. He can't hold his gators down, baby. Anyway, similarly, there's a reason why many newspapers reportedly write for a late middle to early high school reading level. It similarly isn't effective to talk above people. Unfortunately, too many highly educated policy wonks are oblivious that their well-intended salient points are flying right over their audience's heads. This doesn't mean presenters should dumb down their presentations, but instead they should be conscious of their audience and make every attempt to speak with a parlance, vocabulary, and style that audiences will actually hear and understand. I like go talk to them like human beings. This is like something you have to sit down a politician and say, hey, look, not everybody, I know not even necessarily every politician reads all these bills and knows what's in them. So you have to kind of find a way to explain the gist that's honest. But no, they'll give you the end. As George W. Bush was elected, many pundits boiled down his appeal to a single word. He was a beer candidate. I don't know if beer people overlook this, particularly his plain spoken style, sometimes grammatically challenged, which people found endearing. Indeed, they suggested the voters didn't necessarily gravitate to the most intellectual person in the room nearly as much as the gal they felt they could have enjoy a beer with. How weird is it that people have to actually like you to vote for you? Isn't that weird? Yang used plain language, style, and content to speak directly to voters, and whether the audience agreed with his points or not, his delivery was undeniably easy to understand and digest. Yes, there's a reason why everyone's like, I wanted to. You'll notice Andrew Yang, he spoke the least. Other candidates didn't speak that much. Nobody was like, man, why wasn't Tom Steyer able to? Why didn't they give Tom Steyer another 7 minutes to talk? Because he was okay, but it wasn't like when Yang did speak, people were like, I want to hear more of this guy. So it stood out even more than he wasn't speaking, I think.
Yeah, this is also interesting to me, too, because you can definitely tell that a woman wrote this article because...
why? How?
Oh,
no, because I said so at the beginning, I guess.
Oh, no, because I'm a flaming sexist, and I'm about to tell you why. Yeah. No, here's why, okay? Because there's science behind this. When you study how females and males approach different problem-solving challenges, okay, there's been many cross-cultural surveys that have done. There's been specific studies, in fact, on war games, and that proved how men are more overt and women are more relational, right? What's interesting is she actually used that word relationship at the beginning of the article, and she said, look, when he opened up his closing statements and said, hey, I'm a parent, I immediately identified with him and I felt that relationship. So, she's definitely fulfilling the evolutionary trend that females have of, being relational. But this is good news for Andrew Yang because that's one of the demographics he's really struggled with. And if this author right here has, the emotional intelligence to say, hey, look, he's the closest thing to Bush's electability and relatability that I've seen for a really, really long time, that's actually a very good portend. Hopefully, that's a very good sign for future success with females. And personally, I think a lot of the reason why he's struggled with the female demographic is honestly because not a lot of them have tuned in yet. Okay. And no, you can put all of your pencils down and all the feminist bloggers can chill out for 30 seconds. Okay. Doesn't mean that chicks aren't in the know. Okay. But I really think that a lot of very influential females, if you study the Latino vote, like what the abuela thinks is very influential in those tight-knit communities. What grandma thinks in the suburban home can very much set the trend for the political thought process of the family. Whether we like it or not, we all participate in groupthink in one way or another. All right. And these women that carry a lot of weight in a lot of these circles, they're busy. They're really, really busy. They got better things to do than just watch a bunch of policy wonks out snob each other. And if they do want to know what's going on, these debates have been so terrible, I really question the sanity of somebody that sits and watches them. I mean, the debate before this last one, we were literally joking in our live stream how we were making it to the end together.
Well, they had the what would it be? The October debate, I believe, specifically had, I think it was 100 minutes uninterrupted nonsense, no commercials, no breaks, just 100 minutes uninterrupted, people standing on stage saying nothing. It was
absolutely hellacious.
It reached unwatchable. But anyway, we have a couple more points to get through.
Well, just let me finish my thought. My thought is that I really think that with the impeachment sucking up all the air in the room, okay, and the debates being absolutely unwatchable, okay, really only a lot of the kind of YouTube commentator, early adopters, like crazy insiders are tuned into politics, and except for the college interns, you know what I'm saying? I think it predominantly skews male. I would love to see an actual data set on that, but my suspicion is that it predominantly skews male. And because women right now have a lot better things to do than waste their time on this crap that the DNC is putting out that they call debates, I really think if he can keep up this style. And look, even this woman here, she said, I was about to tune out. I just proved myself right. She literally says, I was about to tune out because I got better things to do, because I'm a busy female, but then I saw his question and it brought me in. So I think that there's going to be a lot of females tuning in later on in the game because they got better things to do right now. And I think if he can keep this style up that Mrs. Brownlee, I believe it was, liked, then boom shakalaka. And I did just say boom shakalaka. He gonna bring it back.
Alrighty, very interesting. Yeah,
you like that reference? That 1990s NBA Jam?
Not really.
Boom shakalaka. Ah, dang it!
I was never an NBA. I was never an NBA Jam guy. People like that. I never did.
I remember the big head code, so you could run around playing with the big heads.
I used to play it on my phone even up to a few years ago. It just never was. Anyway, we're going super long on this one.
Let's keep going.
We got to blaze through these last couple. This is a reinforcement. Remember, it's not about you. It's about them. We've been talking about this the whole time. Unfortunately, a politician's DNA too often oozes self-aggrandizement, really. And that predisposition often encourages them to talk about themselves incessantly, really. But Yang seems to do the exact opposite. He tends to focus primarily on anticipated needs issues. She goes in, and so the thing is stuck out. While Booker forcefully reminds us he's a Rhodes Scholar, Yang's approach is quite the opposite. Ironically, because he doesn't share his bio as much, he graduated from a pretty prestigious law firm and went to he's no bum. Creates a sense of organic curiosity. But after his intriguing closing comments, I actually Googled him for the first time at 11:45 and was surprised to learn that he graduated Columbia Law and was selected by the Obama administration's presidential ambassador for global entrepreneurship. Exactly, yeah. And authored 2 books. These facts surprised me not because they're out of the norm for a presidential candidate, but simply because I never heard him mention any of them in the handful of appearances where I'd heard him speak, and that's really what I wanted to focus on. Yeah, how many people who are watching didn't know that he was elected? He was selected as a presidential ambassador for global entrepreneurship by Obama. How many people didn't know that? How many people knew he was a lawyer but didn't realize that he actually graduated from Columbia Law as post-grad? He went somewhere else to graduate.
Yeah.
He has an impressive, pedigree. No one really talks about. So they go through it. And the last one, so I want to tie it with you because we're kind of almost done on this time-wise. But it says to be funny. Hands down, the funniest moment of the entire debate was when Yang explained his initial attempt to address broad societal problems. He explained, my first move was not to run for president of the United States because I'm not insane. Not surprisingly, the vote. And then, of course, there's the other line going through here, because this we can go through. I don't want to go too much because, again, it's important to be funny. Yes. I think
it's authentic, too.
And remember, even how when, I don't know if she mentions it here exactly, but even when it was like they kept asking questions, they asked Cory Booker the 5th impeachment question in a row, and Andrew audibly laughs on stage. I think it shows in your sense of humor as well. He's because how many people at home were like, oh, okay, cool, we're talking about healthcare, and they go impeachment, oh my God. And then so I think that gets relatability. And again, we basically just spent 23 minutes explaining why other politicians aren't relatable, but Yang is. But what I really want to highlight is, it's one thing for me and Card and talk about Yang all the time to say that. It's another thing for somebody who had no real interest in Andrew Yang, who was so moved by his closing statement, she admits that she went and Googled him for the first time at damn near midnight. So yeah. Just saying, this is what he does. Because I agree that I thought his debate performance was really good. A lot of people said there's always the controversy about his talk time. I always kind of err on the side of poor Andrew Yang, man. Everyone's talking about him and he's in the media and everyone feels bad for him and everyone's saying, why isn't he talking? And everyone's saying why. It's I'm sure that isn't benefiting him. It's not good to not get to talk, but when everyone takes notice, in the end, you probably win the war, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. And, so that's the thing about it. But at the same time, I did think that he was so on message when he spoke. It does help. Because again, yes, Cory Booker did speak more, but some of that was, excuse me, I'm the other elite mayor on stage. You know what I mean? It is more talk time, but excuse me, I'm better than you is what we want to hear.
I really like this article, and I'd be interested in seeing what else Ms. Brownlee has to say, because, her opening 3 paragraphs there were pretty much kind of public speaking 101. And I think she really, in a very concise way, summarized a lot of what I feel naturally about public speaking and what a lot of the science behind effective leadership that has been proposed by the psychological community says. So I'd like to see more of what she says, and I'm really curious to see any future articles that she writes about Andrew Yang and her reaction there, to him, and see if this doesn't really start helping him take off with the female demographic, because we know the two demographics he struggles with the most are African Americans and females, which are, massive chunks of the DNC electorate.
I think that's also quickly diminishing.
Well, I know, and hopefully it's, she's writing how it's diminishing, because she herself talks about how she was converted.
I think a lot of it comes from, and call it however you want, I think a lot of it comes from some of the communities Andrew Yang was really propelled from online.
UBI is going to be totally male dominated.
Well, not even that. I just think the Joe Rogan audience is primarily white males, and that's where he got big. I think that's where it comes from primarily.
Not just males, but like UFC enthusiast males.
Yeah, but remember, it's a very popular show. Everyone watches it. But again, I would say the largest demographic of Joe Rogan is probably white male. I could be wrong. I would just guess that's where it came from. So I think just as he grows, because there's nothing about his policies that are unique to any particular demographic. So I think as he's just grown, he's growing in every demographic. He's not like, we're going to do a video about this. I'm actually going to mention it a little bit coming out here. He's not like Pete Buttigieg, where you look at a poll, it's like, wow, they get 19% in that poll, and they show it broken down, and then African American support is literally 0. I've seen multiple Mayor Pete polls over double digits overall at 1-0 in African Americans. Crazy, but we'll talk about it a little bit. Anyway, so that's going to wrap up. It's going to wrap up the Forbes story, guys. Here.
So anyway, let us know what you guys think. There was a lot that we talked about today. Make sure you subscribe to us on Twitter. We do a lot of our announcements on Twitter first at PSP Radio 1. Also, if you want to contribute to the channel, make sure you check out the PayPal link in the description, or you can pick up a hat at problemsolverpolitics.com. And no matter what, make sure that you hang out with us when we stream on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and sometimes Saturdays. Tuesdays, we do our call-ins on Twitch, and Thursdays, we are right here on the tube of you. This is Problem Solver Politics. We'll see you guys in the next video.